So today, coming out of yesterday, I wanted to again go back to Spinoza and to talk about one of Spinoza's more interesting and more problematic statements. A paradox. A man without pity is a monster, for he lacks fundamental humanity. But a man of reason endeavours as far as he can to act other than pity. Now, to understand this, you have to understand something very remarkable about Spinoza's theory of human nature. Because he bases that theory on the body, which is in which I exist, let's put it that way. For him, all feelings of empathy predate my own individuation as a person. As I am, I have a body. If I have a body, it is given already resonating with the feelings of others. And I exist inside those feelings. It is not empathy that has me. It is me that empathy has in its grip. And so, if you lack empathy, or you make yourself somehow lack all sympathy, you have stripped out a base level of humanity. A monster, then. And Spinoza is, of course, very aware that such monsters are usually human leaders. And that is why most human leaders are little more than beasts with less value than a tick. But why does he think a man without reason, a man of reason, should act without empathy, or at least independently from it? To understand that, you have to understand how Spinoza views pleasure and pain. For Spinoza, pleasure in itself is always good. It always is an augmenting of human power. It's a harbinger of good things to come, further greatness, entering into your own. If then you and me share a joy, or I share your joy, as long as that feeling does not drive me mad with jealousy, as long as that feeling does not make me crave whatever you are craving until in our drug rage we howl against the rest of our being. Those are the normal dangers of pleasure. It is always a good thing. It opens up an accord between us, an exchange. You smile, I smile, and somehow our humanity is touched. We reach then towards each other, form those common nations of hospitality and benevolence. As such, empathy is the gateway into common notions with one's fellow humans. Motions that Spinoza thinks are always most excellent. And without it, it would be difficult to see how we could easily make such links. The problem comes with compassion, with pity. You see, pity is a pain that I am given inside, a pain, moreover, that its cause does not really lie in me at all. It's difficult sometimes to place pity. You are born with the pain, and yes, you will have a notion of where it comes from. You might be able to work it out, and yet the pain will feel more real than the cause, for the cause is constructed within me, worked out through me, as I think about what is happening. And this has all sorts of terrible results. First of all, you might seek to run away from the pain. It's only the natural thing to do. Humans don't like pain for Spinoza. Pain is the lessening of your very humanity. Somehow, as you feed it, you become less than you were, caught in its vice, cut off, alone. Humans run from pain then. And so it is easy that pain turns to hate. And hate here against those that cause you pain, those that are in pain. And so fear of a world that is changing. Endless calls to compassion. Don't breed mercy. They breed a callous nation that howls against the immigrant and fantasizes that somehow the immigrants live in 5-star accommodation while they starve. This is the world very much that we have entered into. A world where calls for endless pity has created amongst a certain group a vile callousness that at its extreme, and most people will never get there, wages war against humanity. For what is more natural than to get rid of the pity that you eliminate those who caused it in the first place? All too quickly then, given the right combination of illogic and incompassion and needing to hide your crimes, pity leads to genocide. It is dangerous because the fleeing from it goes to places other than reason. What if one does the opposite? One does not flee the pity, but tries to feel it. Feel it in one's heart at the full power and use it to galvanize a political movement, to change the world. Will that not work? Is that not in itself a good thing? Well, Spinoza, who lived in a world full of people trying to do that, was very aware that such movements never last. A movement held together by compassion has a problem, that its glue is based on pain, and pain is always a lessening. It can feel urgent. Getting rid of that pain can feel the most important thing. But when it is got rid of, there is nothing holding these people together. There is no beliefs, no dreams, no common purpose either, beyond the pain that is given beyond them. This is, in a sense, for me, one of the reasons why the left, in so many political parties, for so many countries, has so much difficulty conceptually holding itself together, while they infight when there is no reason to infight. It is for many, they are in that movement because they are moved by a deep pity that is no doubt beautiful in itself, but inspires no unity, can act as no glue. Worse than that, such pity, then, acts to do something else, something more difficult. Because the other way, of course, you can alleviate such pity is to bind it into your own conflicts. You take it as a reason to take on the government, to see in their oppression of you a reflection of the repression that others face. And what becomes then elsewhere in the world a great and painful suffering, in you becomes a protest, a movement. It gets subsumed within your own politics. It might even energize them for a while, but only for a while, and not necessarily with any sense, nor will it help those who are truly suffering. What would a man of reason do then, faced with a problem like Gaza? Let's be clear about what I'm talking about. Do you want my honest answer? 2 million people, it's not that many. You could absorb them in Europe tomorrow. As the Palestinians were always the most urbanized of the communities in the Middle East, they would even blend in. Why not? Open the borders. Let them in. No, it's not the best solution, but it is a solution. It stops people being killed. It will solve it for now, while we work out what to do with the causes, with those that caused the pain. And what would I do with a nation that did it? Well, you'd obviously do full sanctions, but more than that, I would call its leaders what they are. They're not criminals. They're psychopaths. They need to go to Broadmoor, not prison. For me, that is what the course of reason tells me to do. Is that moved on pity? Maybe. But it's also moved on my basic understanding of what it is to be a human in a wealthy society. And I have, I think, the faith that Spinoza has. A faith that directly challenges the orthodoxy of our day, the post-Freudian orthodoxy. Reason, for Spinoza, carries its own weight. As reason allows you to genuinely act in the world and change things, it carries its own power, its own joy, its own merriment. That affect you cannot have in excess, that feeds the soul. For me, then, I trust reason to punch its own power once its truth is spoken. Or at least Spinoza would have me do so. And to a degree, I have found always that if you reach into other people and give them different ways to understand their power, oh, they dance another way. A man without reason, a man of reason, endeavours to do without pity then. But my God, do not trust those who tell you to do without all empathy in all circumstances. For they, as Spinoza would remind you, are little more than monsters.